Okay, welcome everybody to this third and final webinar on the Future Classroom Scenarios course. My name is Benjamin Hertz and I'm the coordinator of the course. Now, in this webinar, we'll be focusing on a very interesting topic that is often perceived as a challenge to us as teachers, and that's the fact that many of our students are often more knowledgeable about the technology tools that we often use in schools. But rather than see that as a challenge, we should really see that as an opportunity. And that's what Bart Verswijvel, who I think most of you already know, hopefully you've seen all of his videos on the course already, that's what he will be talking about today. So if you haven't done so, please still post in the chat where you're from so we have a sense of where everybody's from. And then I think without further ado, I'm going to pass on to you, Bart, to get us started about this exciting topic.
Well, thank you, Benjamin. So if you give me the ball, I can move on to the next slide. And please don't forget to have a look at one element of this welcome slide, which is the hashtag FCS course. And you know that we are all in favor of using that hashtag and communicate not only with participants here, we have more than 70 already, 75 almost. But also to communicate with teachers outside, teachers who could not attend this webinar. But I will come back to this. I have one introduction slide, which is now here, and at the bottom you see some credentials of mine. You have my Twitter handle and my email address in case you want to reach me. But also I have a blog. I don't write that many posts. Every time I travel, I try to write a blog post there, and it's teacherinresidence.wordpress.com. Now that name, Teacher in Residence, is also kind of summary of my professional background. I started as a teacher more than 30 years ago, and I stayed in that school, my first school, almost that period of 30 years. And but I will tell you more about it during my webinar. One thing I want to mention to you is that the bird who is that's sitting on my head, which is a duck, and I'd like to identify with it. You know that ducks spend quite a lot of time on the ground, and this is what I have been doing. I was on the ground in my school making the best of it day by day, but I never forgot to fly. Virtually, physically, I tried to meet other teachers and get inspiration for them. And this is what's still happening now. And now I'm working for European SchoolNet, and also I have another job at eTwinning. And I think that that's quite crucial for the teacher's development, that you behave a bit like a duck. You make the best of your job day by day, but don't forget to fly. Don't forget to meet other teachers and have some inspiration by them. And I think all the people that are attending the webinar here are in a way ducks who leave their comfort zone for a while and come here and share ideas and learn with other teachers. So that's me. It's Verswijvel. I know it's a terrible name to pronounce. Don't try it at home. Verswijvel, that's me. But let's continue. So if you want to tweet, please do so. I created for this webinar a nice application which is on Tagboard. If you want to see how it looks like, you just go to bit.ly/FCS-course-board, and then you will see all the tweets that have been sent in the past and that will be sent during this webinar maybe or afterwards. So unfortunately you cannot click on the screen, but if you want to go there, you have to type bit.ly/FCS-course-board, and then you will see kind of back channel there with all the tweets over the next days as well. So let's get started. This is my topic, students as digital leaders, and Benjamin already introduced it. And he also said that, well, in many cases we know that students are more tech savvy, and sometimes teachers think it's a challenge, but it could also be an opportunity, and that's exactly what I want to speak about. Now, I have a question to start with. And let's start very small on a micro level, let's say in your classroom. And the question is, do you involve already your students as digital leaders on a class level? And well, the next question makes things more easy, I would say. Do you already make use of the digital expertise of your students? Do they help you in a formal or in an informal way? And I will have the topics now, the options now for the poll. So you can vote. What do you think? Do you make use of the digital expertise of your students in your classroom in a formal or an informal way? It can be very small, knowing that your students in many cases are more tech savvy than you are. Do you make use of it? So you can vote now, and you have three options. Do you do it very often, or you have done it a few times, or almost never? Maybe you don't want to do it. Maybe you think you will lose your authority as a teacher, that you can rely on students or not. So I'm very curious now about the votes, and I think the voting can start now, or already has started.
And then, it's already started, and we have 16 people still missing, but everybody else has already voted. So I think we should give a few more, maybe another minute or so.
Yeah, and we know that on some devices, like on some tablets, the voting doesn't always work, but still we will have a nice result, I think. So I'm very curious to know the results, and Benjamin will
so if you haven't yet answered, please still do so. There's still 12 of you now, 11 of you who haven't yet voted. So I'll give you another 30 seconds. If you haven't yet answered, please still do so.
Well, I think
okay,
it's results now.
It's closing now, and just going to be another 10 seconds. Bart, do you want me to present the results, or do I pass it on to you?
Yeah, please do so. I know that the processing takes some time.
Yes.
But the results will be there quite soon.
So I just need to find how there we go. Okay, you should now be seeing the full results.
Perfect.
And well, I think it's a very encouraging result here. We've got 35% of participants saying that they have made use of their students' digital expertise very often, and then 50% have done it a few times before. So I think that's another reflection of the engagement and innovative potential of the participants of this course and of this webinar.
Yes, and I think, well, the 35%, they have integrated this in their regular teaching. So they, when they prepare lessons, they already have this view of integrating the students' expertise when delivering learning activities. So I'm very curious about some examples, and you can provide them in the chat box. So if you have some examples of integrating the students' expertise in your teaching in a very small way, or maybe more integrated, more structural way, please share some examples, and you can do it in the same chat box where you introduce yourself. So we'll wait a few moments to have some contributions of especially the ones that indicated that they used the expertise of students, of course. Meanwhile, I'm reading some other comments, and indeed, sometimes tablets makes it difficult to vote. I'm very sorry about that.
Yes, that's the case on both iPad and Android tablets. Unfortunately, it's not possible to participate in the polls. But what you can do is, if you just post your answer in the chat box, then you can at least somehow contribute to the poll result.
Yeah, I already have one from Helene, and she says that, well, on the spot, when there are some computer problems during the lesson, the student will help another student to resolve the problem, or maybe help the teacher. Okay. Then sometimes a teacher, and that's Maria Therese, asks the students about advice about selecting the right tool for a certain task. Then, well, the chat is moving around. It's a bit difficult to read. If you find some nice things, Benjamin, you can also read some of the suggestions of how to integrate students' expertise. Yeah. Our Warner writes that during computer lessons, students teach each other. Blended lessons, Teresa says students lead the class and I'm the guide on the side. And yeah, some students have made a film about school and they do it on their own without help from teachers. Yeah, I rely on students to edit video recordings. I'm very sorry that I will not read all of these suggestions, but you can take your time for it. And meanwhile, I will get started with my story of what I did in my school, if that's okay. So I prepared, of course, these slides beforehand, and according to me, in many cases, and maybe that's the summary of what we have been writing, students give technical support. That was the first thing I read. In many cases, teachers ask, is there someone to help me on this and this issue? Then I also read some examples where students really support the learning activity. Or maybe that's the third one, where students create learning content that can be reused in other lessons by other students, etc. So maybe these three categories, don't summarize all of your ideas, but still in many cases, and that was also indicated by the poll we had, a lot of teachers make use of the expertise of students. Okay, let's get started with my story of my school, and I take you back where it all began, if you don't mind. I take you back to the Middle Ages. This is my school, and let's go inside. Let's go to the teacher's room. Here it is. Actually, it's not really the teacher's room of my school. You may have seen it already. You know where we are? We are at the court of King Arthur. These are the knights of the Round Table, but let's imagine these are the teachers of the Round Table. And my story begins when something happens, of course. At this moment, there's still peace and harmony, but of course you need something to happen, otherwise you don't have a story. And in one of those stories, a long time ago, something happened. At a certain moment, the court got a visitor, an alien. At a certain moment, and no one expected that, there was a chessboard entering the court. Now, you can imagine that it was quite scary. The chessboard that stayed there for some moments, and then it disappeared again, and everything was back to normal. Well, it was not really the case. Everything was not really back to normal, because the knights, they started discussing. And of course they were a bit frightened. It was really, really scary. But on the other hand, they were also fascinated. What does it mean? Why did the chessboard enter our court? And maybe you know the rest of the story. The majority of the knights, they remained seated. They remained in their comfort zone. But you know, you always have one knight who goes out on a quest and trying to solve the mystery of that chessboard in this case. And he will go on a quest and he will fight monsters and dragons. And in the end, he will solve the mystery and he will come back to the court and he will share his experiences with the rest of the knights. So you could see this as a kind of story of change with question mark. What will happen next time? do you think other knights will go on a quest again as well when there is some alien entering the court, or when there's something happening, or will it always be the same knights that go out on a quest? I leave you thinking to you. But let's go back to our time. Let's go back to the castle, how it looks now in this age, and let's go back outside again, and this is how it looks now. So you see it has been refurbished a little bit, and also they decided to change the name. The name Camelot was far too difficult to pronounce, so they changed it into Immaculata Institute, and you must admit it looks it sounds much nicer than Camelot. Well, this is my school. This is my school, and here I started teaching. It was, believe me or not, in '81, and then I stayed there for about 30 years. Now, my school is not really a school where we have what you would call academic learners. They come there for a technical and vocational training in the field of business and IT and languages. So they acquire quite a lot of skills in my school, and in many cases they continue their studies to become a professional bachelor, but they don't go to university. So they are really students that want to act in their classroom and not just listen to the teacher. And this is the school where I've been working. Now, at a very certain moment, and let's go back inside again, what you see here, here are the teachers of the round table. Also peace and harmony. And at a certain moment, there was also a story in my school. I still remember it was 2009, and at a certain moment, we got a visitor as well, an alien. And in this case, it was not a chessboard, but it was a smart board. Actually, I won this smart board with the project, and my students won it. And at a certain moment, the board was brought in, and it disappeared again. But actually, it did not really disappear. It was put at a wall, but no one seemed to notice that the board was there, and hardly anyone used it. I still remember the discussion when the board was brought in, and they said, well, I don't like all this technology and internet. Internet is full of monsters and dragons. I'm really afraid of it. I want to stay in my comfort zone. And well, you know, it was the case as in the Middle Ages. There would be one brave knight going out on a quest and trying to solve the mystery of the smart board, but the majority would remain seated. And when I left home, I thought, would it be possible to create a story of change in my school? Because when we won the board, I was quite happy, and actually we won 2 boards, and they brought them to school, and no one seemed to be interested in the board at all. Because it's really a lot of investment, or whatever reason, they did not want to get started with it. So I went home and I thought, how can I bring change? And then all of a sudden I thought, well, I know some people at my school who are not afraid of the monsters and the dragons of technology. And here's a picture of them. These were my students at that time, 17-year-old boys, 17, 18-year-old boys. And they really loved technology. They were all tech savvy. It was their passion, and I must admit they are in that section at my school of IT. But still, they love all kinds of technology, and they are not afraid of it. So I thought, well, maybe I could make these students the buddies of my teachers, of my colleagues, and send them together with the teachers on a quest, trying to solve the mystery of technology, solving the mystery of that board in particular. And this is the idea of the project I launched at my school. We made these students, or I made these students, the ICT buddies, as I told you, of my colleagues. But I must say, I had a long thinking of this project during the summer holidays, And then at the beginning of the school year, I was really well prepared, and I went to my headmaster and I said, well, I have a project and I will call it Teacher Aid. And then we made some plans to launch it in my school 5 years ago. It was 2009. But then when we had our first successful year, these students left school because they were in their last year of secondary school. But no worries, next year we had another group coming, 2010. And then I left school, but luckily my colleague took over. And since then we have every year a group of ICT buddies in my school in the project Teacher Aid. I will explain in a moment. So here are the pictures to give some tribute to those nice kids of our school. And this is the fifth generation or the fifth group of Teacher Aid. So I'll explain what we did. I wanted to give this project a very spectacular start, and in secret I made some arrangements with my headmaster, and I said, well, I want to bring all the teachers for the launch of this project, and have 2 sessions. And you see 7 of my students lining up there for the introduction. Now, before that, we spent quite a lot of time during the lunch break in the rooms where the smart words boards were. And I told my students, please prepare yourself. Please impress the teachers of our school and use all the features of the smart board. And they really enjoyed it. And I gave them the subject. Well, I give you all 2 minutes, and you must explain 2 topics of what you do at your computer, at home, at night, outside school. Do this as a kind of introduction. And as you can see, they all lined up, and they came in. I made them do the introduction in the way that the AA does the introductions, and then they all said, well, my name is Wouter, and I'm addicted to technology. And then they explained what they did at school, and I saw my colleagues sitting with open mouths, and at the same time, they used all the features of the smart boards, and they were really, really impressed. And then, of course, it was just the introduction. We came up with a real project, and we said we want to make a deal with you. And you see, also the students presented the project, and have a look at the body language of that student. You must imagine he's speaking to the teachers of the school. He gets some courses from some of them, but the rest of them, well, he will have seen them, but he doesn't know them. But still, how he looks like that, that also made an impression on me. They were really very confident explaining the project. So this is also a list before I move on of what they presented at that time of those topics they were interested in at home, outside school. It was 2009. I don't think this type of kids will have the same topics now. As you can see, Windows 7 was new at that time, but it is now old-fashioned, of course. But also other things they presented for the teachers, and well, the teachers were really, really impressed, especially the way they did it with the smart board and all the features they used to present it. And then this is the real project. We made a deal with our students, with our colleagues, and we prepared an online catalog with several topics technology related, and we said, now you can tick whatever you like, and then we will help you. Now, we had never expected that it would be so successful. We immediately saw that we could never feed all those features in the way they wanted to be fed during that first year. More than 70% of the colleagues took part, and they ticked at least one, but in many cases many more of those topics they wanted to learn from our students. But anyway, we organized at least 25 sessions for the teachers, which is quite a lot, I would say, over lunch break, with different topics. Some of them were repeated, like the smart board, that was very successful. but also other topics. So at least 25 of those sessions took place during that first year. And these are the topics of the first and the second year the teachers ticked and they wanted to learn about. And you see some of those applications, they could be used in classroom setting, but they also wanted to know about, let's say, Twitter and Facebook. They might not use it in classroom, but they just wanted to know the language of young kids they were teaching, or to communicate with people of their family, with Skype who were living abroad, etc. But also very useful applications they could use in their classroom, and these were the topics they used during the first 2 years. I will also have a slide of the topics they have done last school year later on. And then they interacted and they did it all by themselves. They launched doodles where teachers could enroll for sessions, and then they chose the best option. But as you can see, sometimes it was a problem for teachers. So in many cases, the students just say, well, I will give a private session for you. They really felt very proud to deliver that knowledge to teachers. And I have some pictures of those courses between brackets. You see, it's a small group of teachers present. Here we have 5 and two students presenting it. And you see here is also the secret of the success. The secret of the success is on the table. It's a lunchbox. Students can deliver those lessons over lunchtime, and the teachers don't have to leave their houses at night. They don't have to make special arrangements. They can just bring their lunchbox and then have a session, a short session, and have their specific questions for the students. But of course, they prepared the lessons as well, and yeah, it was in many cases really hands-on, where the colleagues of mine were trying things out. And in fact, those lessons were kind of start of a blended learning activity with the teachers, because they knew now their ICT buddies, and very often they send them a message, or they went to them, can you explain me this? I forgot about it. And so there was a whole relationship going on during that year, and it's still going on in my school. Now, there's also a flip side, I would say, to this project. To be honest, when I thought of that project, I thought not only of my colleagues, but I also thought of my students. I'm a teacher. I have to think of my students in the first place. And there's also a flip side which focuses more on the students. I'm a language teacher. I always have been a teacher of Dutch, which is the mother tongue of those students. And for me, this project was very important as well, not only helping my colleagues, but also helping my students. And I, as a language teacher, I want to have my students better language skills, like writing. They had their blogs where they wrote their tutorials. They had to write to teachers. They communicated in a real life setting, also presenting, speaking. We had some discussions that also accompanied that project. I had invited my foreign friends to take part in some discussions on technology, etc. So this project is also, I think, very important for the development of the students. They could learn in a real life context, and I also already presented my students. They are not really academic learners. They want learning that makes sense, and they are very proud to share their knowledge. In many cases, they had to study themselves. They did not really know all those topics already. Sometimes they were really a bit frightened too, and they say, well, I don't know it. I know my topics, but then they had to manage to master it and then pass their knowledge on to students. Yeah, and I must say they really were very, very motivated. They never complained of of doing this type of task, because it really made him proud to do these activities. And in the end, well, we had a very nice atmosphere at school between students and teachers. And sometimes I had teachers coming in the staff room to me and said, "Well, I'm so happy one of your students explained me how to use the remote control. Oh, that changed my life. I know now how to freeze the screen, and I can prepare things without my students seeing me what I'm doing." So they really learned them very small things as well, and they discussed technology. Also, colleagues started discussing. They went together to those sessions, and then afterwards they said, "Well, let's do something together, and what can we do to integrate technology in our classroom?" This is a slide from last year's session, school year 2013-2014, and now they have their own website, and they also have their Facebook page, so things have changed. But as you can see, all those topics have changed very spectacularly, in a spectacular way as well in 5 years. The topics they have been doing now, well, they had a project on adding subtitles, which was also there in first year. But then the school bought tablets, and the students introduced tablets to the teachers. So they have the two platforms here, iOS and Android, and then they found some together with the teachers some nice apps. Also the use of responding tools and clickers, video chat, making instruction movies, so that's really quite spectacular, I would say, and I'm very, very happy and proud that the project is still going on, and it really is integrated in the structure of my school, and in the way our school wants to organize professional development for teachers. I have started my project on this website here. Well, it's in fact a blog, teacheraid.wordpress.com. I must say it contains mostly information in Dutch, and of course I stopped updating it after the first years of my contribution to the project. But if you want, there are some English pages, some international pages where you can read more about this project. Okay, so this is one way of organizing students as digital leaders in a school environment, more on a macro level, as a kind of steps plan for the school where students train teachers. There are many ways of doing so, and I think many of the people that are here do something similar, but this is the way we still do it, and I think it must be possible in every school to organize something similar like this. Every school has some students who are proud to share their knowledge, and it must be possible to bring them together with teachers who want to learn. And as I told you before, it's also for the benefit of the students themselves. They learn quite a lot too. Now, I also want to present another model of this topic where students train students. And also at my school, we have done something similar. We have a secondary school, and the young kids come in when they are 12 and they leave when they are 18. And when they come in at school, they get an introduction by the older students to the virtual learning environment of the school. They also get passwords, they get email addresses. There's quite a lot to do to lead them around, and this is also something we do, we organize, and at the same time, there's also again this social element. Those young kids, they really love it to have friends from the last classes of the school, and it's quite nice to have this in the first week of the school, where those older kids come there and introduce some technical issues of the school, like the school virtual learning environment and some other things. Since we are a school with quite a lot of computers, and well, I see those old big screens now. I think they will have been replaced by now, but still, we have a school with about 450 students, and at least 250 computers are there because we need them for our lessons. So we have every year also a Safer Internet Day at school, and also those Safer Internet Day is a day full of workshops, and also the older students give peer workshops for the younger ones, and they really believe them. If I would say how to make the settings on Facebook, they might not believe me. If an older student gives advice, it's in many cases even better. So you see, this is what we have been doing, and I see already in the chat that there are quite a lot of similar examples in other schools as well. I have another project to mention. Well, in fact, it's not a project. I bring you now not to Belgium, but to Denmark, to Copenhagen. I was there some years ago on an internship for 2 weeks, and I was invited to some schools. And on one day I went to this school, which is not really, I would say, a modern school. It's really a mainstream school with normal school buildings and normal kids. All kids are normal, of course, but still, I will bring you in. And as you can see, this is a quite mainstream classroom. But the kids you see here, they were about 12, 13 years old. They were not in the same class group, but about 8 to 10 times a school year, they were brought together. They were brought together for the project they call the IT Super Kids. And at these 8 times a school year, or maybe 10 times, those kids get a training, sometimes outside the school, sometimes inside the school, from an external or maybe someone from the school, a teacher or expert. And then the idea is they go back to their separate classes and they deliver a lesson, a learning activity in their classes where they come from. So all those maybe 10, 15 kids, they are from different classes, and they go back after having had that training, and they share their knowledge with their peers. And this is a nice project, I would say, and they call it the IT Super Kid. So I was there. I'm not an IT Super Kid, but I felt super, as you can see, and I delivered a small workshop for them. And you see, they were really working together. It's more like a workplace, and this is my idea of learning. If it's possible, please give your students some freedom, and they were really allowed to go to different groups and to share their knowledge. I will give you later on a result of what they have created at that session at the very end, because it's a movie, and I don't want to share it now already, because you know that with graphics it's not always easy to share movies. But at the end, I have a nice video I brought from my stay there in Copenhagen. But the idea is, of course, to remember this is also a way of organizing students' peer training. You select some kids, you give them some training, and you send them back to the classes where they come from, where they can deliver and where a learning activity or share their knowledge. And this is how they do it in that school in Denmark. So back to you now. I have another poll, and maybe it's a bit similar as the one we had in the very beginning. But then I asked you, do you do it in your classroom? And now the question is, do you involve your students? Do you have similar projects on a school level where you organize something that is for the benefit not only for your own class or for your own teaching, but for the school in general? And then we have another poll, and now it's your turn again, Benjamin, to activate it. But meanwhile, you can think about it. and you see you have the same options. What's happening in your school? Do you use the expertise of your students on a school level very often? Is it really something that makes part of your school culture? Have you done some examples like the ones I mentioned, peer-to-peer training or whatever? Or is it completely new to what's happening in your school? So I guess Benjamin will have started the voting by now.
Yes, that's right. So the poll is already live, and lots of answers coming in. Only 20 left still to answer. So keep up the great work. We've been seeing in the chat actually already a lot of people posting that they are running similar projects, some quite comprehensive in fact, where students even get some course credits. So that's of course fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
So 18 people left still to answer. If you haven't yet answered, please still do so. Do you or your school involve students as digital leaders on a school level?
Yeah, it would be a very nice idea to have a kind of blog or repository of all those great ideas. Maybe that's the next project for you, Benjamin, to collect.
Absolutely, yeah. Should definitely connect everybody who's been running these kind of projects somehow. So we've got 15 people left, 14. So I'll give you another 20 seconds.
And the ones who have already voted, if they haven't done so, because you know that would be the next question, is if you have done similar projects, well, you can share your examples. If you haven't done it, there could be a reason why not. So maybe that's also something you could share. And then, meanwhile, maybe Benjamin can finish the poll.
Yes, so the poll's finished now, and you should be seeing the results now. Yes, they're in. Slightly different results to the first poll. We've got 41% who says they have done it a few times, and only 4%, only 4 people of everybody who's participating have done this very often. And I imagine those might be the 4 people who have actually been posting in the chat already.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's overall with those people who haven't answered, so more than 50% have done it or never, or at least almost never.
Maybe it could be a matter of inspiration. So I hope that with the project that I mentioned, and also with the ideas that are now posted in the chat box, some ideas could be brought to other schools, and I hope that will be the case. Then this webinar would be successful, of course. That some changes will be made in other schools thanks to the ideas of sharing in this webinar and in the MOOC course. So I see that well, like the school magazine, that's something that happens in some schools. Then. Yeah, there was also some international element in the school by Enrica, where they sent students to another country in Spain to teach them HTML, and that was a great experience indeed. I love this example because again, you have this social element of learning together. And what else? The problem is the curriculum. How can it be managed? Yeah. Well, for me, I'm in luxury position at my school because at my school with those technical education, those students have to do these type of projects where they integrate different subjects like languages and also like their IT subjects into one project. But on the other hand, well, there is also some idea of doing it as a volunteer, I would say. I know some examples of students where they really have organized similar activities just during lunch break, sharing knowledge where they, for instance, had some coding activities where they work with robots, and students just invite other students, and it's just for the fun of learning, and it's outside the curriculum. But I think there must be possibilities to have it. I think every school must have some projects in one way or another where they can integrate this type of activities. Okay, so maybe that's nice to read. Someone said, but then the chat suddenly flips. There was someone who said that she or he got some ideas to do something in the future in her or his school. But I will read it later on. So maybe we can finish off now, Benjamin, because well, we are here now already for some time. And I want to thank you for your presentation. I will stay here for some questions. But I promised you that movie that those kids in Copenhagen made, and I put it in the chat so that you can click on it.
I think you put it. You need to put it in there again because you put it in to me currently. So.
Yeah. And here it is. So if you want to have a very short clip, and I must tell you, it was just made in that morning of 2 hours, and they finished that activity. So that was my contribution. I hope you got some inspiration to organize something in your class level or in your school level, and it's really an attitude. Some visitors to my school said, well, are you not afraid of losing your authority? Well, I can tell you, not at all. Those lessons took part during the lunch break, and I can assure you the kids were more nervous than the teachers who were the students. And at the end, it really worked quite well. And it's really an attitude, an atmosphere in your school, and you can work on it. So if you have any questions, I'm here. And
yes, please don't hesitate to ask questions via the chat to Bart. Bart, there's already been one question that popped up at some point earlier. Does this work with younger students? Do you have any experience, or do you know of anybody who has organized something like this with students that are maybe slightly younger and maybe primary level?
I think so too. Don't underestimate those younger kids. You see them all now with tablets from the moment they are born. And I think they. I know an example of some of my evening colleagues, and he was a teacher in the second year of a primary school, and he had caps. And he called them it was something like the A-team or something like this. And if they put on the cap, they could explain something about technology. Instead of the teacher, something like this. But I must tell you, when I spoke to those kids in Copenhagen, I told them the story of my school, and also I told them about knights, and they really liked it. And I asked them who would like to be a knight and help your teacher, and of course they all raised their hand. And then I had some topics on the board, and then I asked them who could be a knight for, let's say, Windows Movie Maker. And not all, but maybe 80% they raised their hand. So I checked what they knew, and I had some topics, and then you can imagine that in many cases they know quite a lot. So I think there must be possibilities for younger kids too, on their level too. I'm quite sure about it.
Okay, excellent. Thanks, Bart. Maybe just another quick question here. A lot of people are already thanking you for the inspiring webinar and starting to leave, but there was a question which I do find quite interesting. What about participation of girls? I think on a lot of your slides it was primarily boys who are participating there.
That's quite nice, and I really, I'm very sorry for it. I really hope that every year we had some girls in that special section I was teaching. It was IT. But then we had another section where I was not teaching, which was IT and accountancy. And for one reason or another, the girls went to that other section. Because in my IT section, well, the students, of course, they had to use screwdrivers to open the computer, and they said, well, that's for boys, which I really didn't like. But you see, once a girl enrolls for that course, some other girls follow, and for one reason or another, in some years we don't have girls because no one wants to be the first to go to that section, and then well, it's just a boys' class, and it's really strange. In the very beginning, we had quite a lot of girls, and for one reason or another, it stopped because we have a similar section, and they say, well, let's take this. It's more programming. But we don't have to open the computer to replace the motherboard or something like this. It's really a pity because the teachers teaching technology and computers are also very nice female colleagues. So it's not a matter of having a role model in my school, but still, it's really a pity, and we can't help it. I'm very sorry.
Okay, thanks, Bart. There is another issue that cropped up a couple of times, in fact, and it's just come up again. Helena Brown is asking, is there a way of using gaming knowledge somehow in this? And there was actually on one of the slides, one of the students was presenting World of Warcraft, and some people in the chat were sort of quite surprised about that. Is there anything that you can add to this?
Well, I must say I'm not really a game specialist, I must say. I didn't mention, but when I was teaching in the second year, we also had a session on serious games. So I gave them all a serious game to play with, and just to put it on the website of the school, and then we also put it in the catalog for teachers. But for one reason or another, teachers didn't take that topic. But I think if you organize a kind of a club in your school and you have some kids that are into gaming, and you just ask other students who want to learn from those other students, it will be quite a success, I think. And then maybe it's not really integrated in the curriculum, but still you have this peer-to-peer learning. So I'm really not against gaming and gamification elements in school at all, but I must say I'm not really a gamer. I just left that out. That will be when I'm retiring, I guess.
Okay. Thanks, Bart. There's been quite a few people who flagged up that the bit.ly isn't working. It's
the one that's on the screen now. So I just had, sorry, it's the one on the screen. I posted the wrong one. Thanks for your attention.
Yes, okay, so don't use the bit.ly FCS course, use this one, bit.ly, thanks for your attention.
Okay. But I thank you for your attention anyway.
Yes, well, thank you very much, Bart, for that really inspiring webinar, and it's really great to see also the nice examples that some of you have been posting into the chat. And thanks also for the great questions. We'll be posting the recording of this webinar onto the course, so if you've missed something at the beginning or didn't understand something along the way, you can watch the recording via the module 4 on the course. Now, when the webinar ends, you will be directed to a short survey where you'll be asked about your experience of this webinar, and we would very much appreciate your help in just filling that in. It's very short, only 5 questions. Yeah, and that will help us to improve the course in the future. Okay, that's it from us. Thanks everybody for your participation, and enjoy the rest of your evening, and see you in Module 5, which we're opening up on Sunday evening.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.